Hi, my name is Kayla Scott, and my two words are astray and rescued. I became a Christian around 6 or 7 years old, and I grew up in a Christian home. My family was wonderful. Everyone loved Jesus. We were always singing worship songs. I remember anytime my uncle would pull out a guitar, my aunts and uncles and my sisters and cousins, we would all be singing songs together, like a silly little family band. And and I loved Jesus with all my heart. I wanted to be baptized at the age of 8, and I was writing to Jesus in my journal when other kids were writing Dear Journal. I was writing Dear God. But then slowly I began to go astray. I began to drift away from God. Um, I hated being that Jesus freak. When people would, I just felt really insecure about it. I didn't want anyone to know that I was a Christian. Um, I didn't want anyone to not hang out with me because they would assume that I wasn't any fun because I was a Christian. And I started to question if it was even important enough, if it really even mattered if I believed in Jesus. Maybe I just needed to be saved and that was it. So I began to make really bad friend choices. I was getting into dangerous situations. I was dating guys that were into drugs, sold drugs, was in and out of jail. I just wasn't making good life decisions, whatever. And the best way I can describe it is I was looking over a ledge and I could see the way that I could have been, what I could have fallen into. But God was keeping me up from that ledge. So I was only close enough to where I could see it, but I never fell into it. But I was always dangerously close to the edge. So in 2012, my mom asked me if I wanted to be a part of a mission trip to Haiti through my church. And it was with Nehemiah Visions Ministry. And it was only like an hour outside of Port-au-Prince. And it was so unbelievable. Like, when I was going through Port-au-Prince, I felt like I was in a documentary. I was just seeing all these buildings that were half built. Everything was so colorful. There were people on top of buses. I saw fruit laying out everywhere, and it just was unbelievable that people lived like this. Tent villages stretching out for miles, and I just couldn't believe that human life went on day after day like that. And I remember the very first time I went to a tent village, and one of the little kids just out of nowhere, not even knowing me, reached up and held my hand. And I remember the first time I held that hand, the love that I felt for that kid I hardly knew. And then all the rest of the night came and hugged me and loved on me and compared skins with. I still kind of felt distant with God, but I just was still at awe with these beautiful people who hardly had anything, but at the same time had everything. They were so joyful and they sang so loud. And the moment that it began to turn around for me was at a church service that they had in Haiti. And the worship songs were going on, and they were singing as loud as they could, so they were practically shouting, but it was wonderful. And I just remember all of a sudden, I felt like arms were wrapped around me, and I felt like the Holy Spirit was just tugging in my heart and saying, "It's okay. It's okay. You're forgiven." And I dropped down to my knees, and I started weeping and praying to God and realizing how fake I had been and how lost I had been, but He rescued me. Even though I had strayed off so far, God let me know it was okay to come back. It was okay.